Hello everyone and welcome back to Fan Interference with Wichita Wingnuts manager Pete Rose Jr. Fan Interference is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the Wichita manager questions about the Wingnuts, baseball or sports in general, or just seek Pete's wisdom about life events that are going on out there. In this week's episode, Pete talks to us about whether the coaching staff should do anything to try to help Matt Chavez when he's in such a hot streak. He tells us if he could encourage Jim Foltz to get ejected sometime this season. And Pete helps an angry woman who's a bit miffed at her fiancee. So let's get right to Fan Interference. Well, let's welcome back Manager Pete Rose Jr. Pete, do you have team updates for us?
Let's see. We signed Tim Brown back. Obviously, a no-brainer for us. The move we traded Jared Wilson to Trice Rivers. You hate to lose a kid like Willie, but when you can gain a guy like Tim Brown, a proven guy. Was here last year, did a lot for us last year. It was a no-brainer. And then we actually had to put Jesse Pratt on waivers just to make room for Chad Nading, who just got released from San Antonio, which is AA for the Padres. Another guy, just we're going to have a couple of different long guys, so innings were kind of going to be sparingly for Jesse, and him being a young guy, I think he needs a pitch, and when you bring a guy back like Chad, it's kind of a no-brainer for us. Same kind of situation with Brownie. So those are the only two. I don't really have much team updates, as you well know. We kind of stick with what we got. But when you can add guys from last year's team, and these guys know, and I told Willie, if it was vice versa, he was here last year and he was gone, and once you're one of my guys, you're going to always be one of my guys, and. You may see Jesse Pratt back here again real soon if something happens. We love what he does. We love him in the clubhouse. So, those are the only two moves we got, and that's a big transaction day for the Wichita Wingnuts.
With Tim Brown coming back, is that why Ryan Kushmal was working out of the bullpen, or was just getting him some work?
He's actually headed to a wedding, so we wanted to get him in there before he left. So him and Coop kind of split the game last night. And the reason that Coop had started is, just Coop's past of being basically a closer, all his career. I think he's more inclined to pitch out of the bullpen, so that's why he kind of piggybacked Coop last night. So he's headed out for a wedding. I think he's going to be back Tuesday when we go to Texas. So once he gets back, he'll be back in rotation. So just to get him some innings before he leaves, and he missed the last start. We wanted to give him some rest and just get him back out there so it wasn't too long.
Now, I know you guys have lost a few games in a row, and you're never one to panic about that kind of stuff or show concern. Is there anything, though, you're looking for differently other than the score?
No, not. That just basically tells everybody and their sister that my guys are human. We lost a tough one last night. Night before we were kind of flat. It's baseball, but both nights the tying runs come to the plate, giving us a chance. So that's all you can ask for. It's one of those things. We'll be on time tonight, and we'll play hard again tonight, and whatever happens. But it's a little weird when losing 3 in a row. But it's baseball. It's bound to happen. It's going to happen. All the great teams do it. So like I said, as long as it's not at the end of the year where you get bounced early or you have a chance to make the playoffs and you kind of go in a skid, but these guys will be all right. They played hard last night, and we'll do it again, and we'll see what happens. You
skipped Tyler Kane for a spot for him and one for Ryan Kushmal as well. This is kind of a 100-game schedule, and you're just giving guys a little breather.
Well, I think with the next two off days, the next two Mondays being off days, and then with the All-Star break, you kind of can give guys a blow. Those guys have been throwing a lot of innings. And when we have the people to do it, as far as when you have a bunch of versatile guys that can throw out the bullpen and start, I think it's only going to help them in the long run. I think the more rest they get, the better off they're going to be. I'm sure they'll tell you they don't want the rest, and that's a good thing. But we just want to pull back a little bit and just hey, if we can space some guys out and give them some extra days rest. Once these dog days start to come upon us, with the long trip facing us here shortly. And in August, you basically only have, 2 off days in August. That's when it starts to get a little dicey. So if we can give them some days off early, it's going to benefit not only them but us in the long run.
I'm kind of personally curious, when you have a guy like Matt Chavez that's hitting so well and just on fire right now, does the coaching staff just kind of leave him alone to just do your thing?
I don't. We really don't do that. I mean, I don't even know how to answer that. I don't change regardless if you're hitting 200, 300, 400, or 700. We still do the same stuff. We still get our work in. Obviously, we're not going to hit today. It's 1,000 out, so we're going to show up at 5 and just kind of get ready to play. But I don't try to change anything. I don't care if you're the last man on the roster, if you're the first man on the roster. If you're hitting the last on the team, you're hitting first on the team. I'm going to do my job, and that's try to get these guys better and try to get them out of here. So whatever that entitles, I kind of just go out and do. But I don't really change anything. And Chavi's the same way. Chavi, you can go up and talk to him if he's 0 for 4 or 4 for 4 or whatever. He's always the same, and everybody else is too. So, we just kind of just keep everything the same.
One guy we really haven't talked much about this season is Josh Goosen Brown, who's done a great job out of the bullpen for you. I'm assuming that as he's kind of gone along here, he's really earned a lot more of your trust.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's a guy that, I have some history with him. His uncle, or his dad, his dad's brother, which was his uncle, was my dad's agent before he had passed away. So we knew about Josh last year when he got released from the White Sox, just from being a friend of, my dad, obviously being in part of the family. But, he's really came in and did an unbelievable job. I mean, he works his tail off. He's always working out. He's always doing something. He's in shape. I mean, what a great kid, not only on the field but off the field as well. So, but yeah, he definitely, another one you can talk about is Boyle too. I mean, both of those guys have. They're two solid rookies that you can throw in the game at any part of the game, at any time of the game. You can use both of them in the back end. You can use both of them early in the game. It doesn't matter. But, since both of those two guys have showed up, they've been doing nothing but getting better. And I don't really think it took a lot to earn, our respect to get him, or our confidence to get him in the game at any point. So, and you know what, they both work hard, so it's great to have both of them. But like I said, Goose is, he's taken off from the start. I mean, he hit the ground running here, and we couldn't, be any happier, with having him here.
Well, let's head to fan questions this week. We first of all begin with Jerry from Park City. He says, do you expect to see some of the numbers of guys drop as it gets hotter? I would think it would be just as hard for your players to have such high averages as the dog days of summer drag on.
I would say, especially here, and once it gets hot, the ball starts to travel a little bit more. So, I hope not, but I think, with these guys starting to approach, I haven't even really looked at stats much, but probably 200 at bats, maybe 300 at bats, getting close somewhere around there. You're not going to drop or raise a lot just because of the number of at bats, but. It's going to be tough for us. We only have 10 position players, but if I have to go at this with only 10 position players, I'll take the 10 I have in there. So, I'm sure some of the guys will kind of drop off, but that's just kind of, being human as far as, you can't keep this torrid pace up forever, I don't think. But these guys are going to give it one heck of a shot to keep it up, and you know what? Knowing these guys, they may make that happen, but I'm sure somebody will start to decline a little bit.
Jill from Maid would like to know, I know that this is not part of your thought process, but as a fan, I like that you have had the same guys for the vast majority of for this season. It always helped us to get to know the players better. Thank you for doing such a great job, Pete.
Oh, hey, I appreciate that, but it's when you have the guys that I have, it's really easy, and like we've talked about many times, I just think that the more comfortable that they get with each other, it's gonna benefit us as an organization on the field as far as wins and losses. And I've said it before. I think that they got to come in and they gotta understand that it's okay to fail. It's okay to strike out. It's okay to make an error. It's okay to give up a run or give up a home run. I'm not going to be in here looking for the next best thing. I mean, I brought you in here for a reason, and go out and just show us that reason. So. But it's good for the fans just because, it's kind of like I don't want to say a big league team, but it's kind of like a big league team because if you get the same guys, for a couple years, you can kind of, latch on to one of them. You big Middlesex fan or a Cleveland fan or Harrison Kane fan. It's not just a kind of one and done here. So, but it's worked out for us, and I'm going to be the same way, from here on out, wherever I'm going to be. I just think it's just it's a better way of doing things. I've played winter ball where you get off the plane, if you don't get 4 hits, there's somebody in the next day that's sharing your locker, so I understand that aspect of it too. So, but thanks for the compliment.
This is my favorite question of the week. Maggie from Derby asked, she says she loved that Cap got ejected. Do you think you could get Jim Foltz wound up enough to get him ejected? She'd love to see that.
Well, you know what? I think he could get ejected, but he's very important to us because if Jim gets ejected, that means I have to coach third base. So if I see anything that's going to happen that's going to get Jim ejected, I'm going to jump in and probably get ejected in front of him just so I don't have to coach third base. But Jim's doing a great job. I mean, he's a great asset to not only my staff, but our guys. And he's fiery, man. He wants to win every day. He comes to the ballpark. He's great to be around. And he's got a lot of baseball knowledge to offer, but I'm not going to let him get ejected just yet. I mean, maybe as it goes a little longer, maybe we'll talk about it, but probably not here in the not too distant future.
In the 9th inning,
yeah.
Sometime, maybe. Sean from Wichita asks, "Are you surprised to see Cleburne struggling as they are?"
Yeah, I mean, they got a really good team. I mean, they got a lot of good players there. Valentin and Glasser. Gonzalez, they got some good players, but Gabe does a good job down there. It's a beautiful place to go with the new stadium and everything. But I'm sure they'll get back on track at some point. I mean, they got too good of a team, and like I said, I play with Gabe, and he's a good guy. He does a wonderful job with his team, and they play hard. So I think at some point they'll kind of get back on track to where they're supposed to be.
Kayla from Salina would like to know, who has impressed you on the Salina Stockade so far?
This is going to sound bad, but I probably couldn't tell you if you told me somebody's name on Salina's team, if you told me somebody on anybody else's team other than ours that are new this year. I'm probably not going to know who they are just because I don't pay attention. I mean, and we've talked about this too. I don't pay attention about anybody else's stats. I don't pay attention to anybody else's roster, anybody else's pitching staff. That doesn't concern me. I just worry about what we do. But they got some players that play hard. I mean, that's one thing you have to give up for those guys. They swing the bats. They throw it. They hit it. They catch it. They play hard, and you got to tip your hat to them just for the situation that they're in. But I probably couldn't even give you a name off the bat of any of them just because I really don't pay attention, and it's not for maybe the reasons people will take that from it, just because I just try to concentrate on our guys, and that's really all I try to do. So, but they got a good team. I mean, it's a tough match. We talked about that too. It's a tough matchup for us just because they're tough to play. I mean, when we got to go there and they come here, and it's just it's a tough matchup for us.
Head to the NFL now. Brandon from Cincinnati would like to know. He says Andy Dalton has not really proved that he can be a big game performer. Do you think this season will be his year?
I hope so, but I think being a diehard Who Dey fan, I think that if it doesn't happen, I think we have a guy that's sitting on the sidelines that is a proven big game winner, and A.J. McCarron. I think he's won at college. He's won national championships. He's played with the best. When Andy was hurt, he stepped in. Basically, we won the Pittsburgh game, and then all the crazy stuff happened. So I think he's a proven winner too. But for the Bengals' sake, absolutely. I hope this is the year he proves it and goes out and takes his team to the promised land and gets us back to where we need to be, and that's in the playoffs. But I know if not, I know we got a guy that, and I'm like we talked about. I'm so glad they didn't trade him. Being A.J. McCarron, I'm a huge fan just because he's a lot like Tim Tebow. He's a winner. He just wins wherever he goes. So I hope Andy goes out and does what he's done and just gets us back to the playoffs and then kind of takes it from there.
Next up is Tyler from Emporia. He says Kirk Cousins wants a huge contract. They would pay him as much money as Rodgers, Brady, and Breeze. Really? Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, he's I liked him when you liked that when that all came out, but he's a good quarterback. I don't know if he's in the category that you just put him in, but I think he's going to have to earn that. I think when you're talking about Brady, I think you got to put Bradshaw and Manning and those guys in. I think Tom Brady's a GOAT, obviously greatest of all time. and then you got a second class after him. So I think he's got to prove himself. I think he's done pretty well for what he's done so far, but I wouldn't go giving him the highest paid contract yet. I mean, but who knows? I think the Redskins are kind of prone to do that to some of their guys, so we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, they make some crazy deals.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Frank asks, he says, do you see Tony Romo or Jay Cutler coming out of the booth and joining a team that needs a quarterback?
I could see Tony Romo doing it. I don't know about Jay Cutler. I like Tony Romo. I mean, I'm not a big Cowboys fan, being a Bengal fan. But what a super quarterback. I mean, people don't realize, he's been hurt, but his numbers are stupid. I mean, he's got sick numbers. And he was a quarterback in Dallas for a long time, and I think he could be the one that, hey, if it's Denver, if it's I don't want to say Cleveland, but if it's a team that's kind of on the verge that needs somebody out, and Denver's the team that pops out. If I'm the owner, if I'm John Elway, why wouldn't you want to get Tony Romo on your team? I think he would be a better fit than Jake Cutler. I don't know about Jake. It just, it always seems like when everything goes south, he just kind of goes south with it. He's never there to kind of support his other guys. But, we'll see what happens. But I would say Romo has probably the better chance of doing that.
Gary from Wichita says, Richard Sherman wants the players to strike. He should be banned, don't you think?
Yeah, I understand what they're talking about. Those football contracts are kind of crazy because nothing's guaranteed unless you get your signing bonuses, and that's a rougher sport than baseball. I mean, baseball, if you sign and you go out and throw one pitch and it's over, you still get your whole contract. So I understand where he's coming from, and I don't think he should be banned, because if he's banned, then I think the game isn't as good as it should be, because he's one of the better cornerbacks in the league, and I enjoy watching him play, but I kind of understand what he's talking about with the whole contract deal.
Bill from Hayesville asks, he says, I know a lot of people think your dad was wrong for that big home plate collision in the All-Star game. What are your thoughts?
It was right, because he was actually going to slide, and then actually Fosse, people don't realize that Ray Fosse was at my house the night before for dinner, and there was no malicious intent for it. But I think my dad kind of figured out if he was going to slide there with him blocking the plate, he was going to hurt himself. So he just ran over him, and I think then the rest is history. But knowing my dad, if the situation came up 100 more times, he would do exactly the same thing 100 more times. It's all about winning, plus being at home in front of hometown fans. I think it was the right play. Obviously, it worked out for him, and it's a famous play. But him and my dad were friends, and I think that Ray was the guy that kind of got bitter grapes after that, because he never really panned out. Let's say, kind of like my dad did. But it is what it is, man. It happened, and I'm a Rose, so I'm on the side of the Rose side. So.
Well, I just thought your dad, that's just part of his competitive nature.
Yeah, it's just, but if you watch the video, he's actually getting ready to slide, and he kind of looks and like, there's really nowhere to slide, so I just gotta have to, people don't want to realize, my dad being really strong, stocky, he could have really actually ran him over if he really wanted to, like actually went into somebody. I mean, I've seen him kind of go after guys, like if somebody's in the way and he, get off the track type deal. And that kind of wasn't, he didn't really hit him the way that he could have. And I don't know if people understand that, but if you watch it, he's definitely on his way to sliding. And sure enough, he just kind of pulled up and ran into him, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I was kind of envisioned that if your dad and I were trying to get the same parking spot, he'd smash my car.
He'd probably do it to me too. He might let my daughter get her spot, or my son, but I'm sure if me and you were in the same boat if that happens.
Our last question this week comes from Angry Woman. She says, Pete, please talk some sense into my fiance. Our friends are both in the wedding party, as my friend is my maid of honor, but his friend, who is married to her, is only a groomsman, but not the best man. However, my fiance thinks I should force another woman to be my maid of honor so he can stand with his wife. What the hell?
That might be too tough of a question for me to answer, but it's your wedding. I mean, you're not telling him who to be the best man, so I don't really think it's fair for him to tell her to be whoever be the maid of honor, just so his buddy can stand with his wife. I don't really think it matters. You're not dating them. You don't have to kiss them. You don't have to. You just walk down the aisle, and I think there's one dance with the wedding party, and maybe halfway through you can tap the guy on the shoulder and cut in and take over. But it's your day. It's your special day. It's bigger for the women. Obviously, weddings have always been that way. So my advice would be do what you do. Be happy, and the whole saying, "Happy wife, happy life." So you might want to understand that a little bit more, being on the groom's side. Just kind of let her do what she wants to do.
Awesome. Thanks, Pete.
You got it, man.
We want to thank Manager Pete Rose Jr. for joining us on Fan Interference this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the Wichita Wingnut skipper, please send them to us at askpete@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's askpete@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Sunday evening so we can give Pete a little time to review them before we record the show. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll see you next time on Fan Interference.